Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Struggling Hunters. I am Eric,
I'm Joe.
and here we are for another episode 21. Joe, now that the introduction's out of the way, you went hunting this weekend.
I
What
did.
So what happened this weekend?
So this weekend was kind of it was a good weekend. Uh, it was fun. Had some encounters, I guess you would want to say, or you can put it. But one of the things that it was, uh, what really set this kind of weekend apart, even though I'll spill the beans now, I wasn't successful as far as having a buck in hand or an elk in hand. But it was a fun weekend. It was a good weekend. I had a couple encounters, or is it encounters? Do you use the word encounters?
I
Couple
would.
of,
Yeah, I would.
there's a couple other things that happened this weekend that kind of made it a special weekend too. Was be one that's going to be in the memory books. I'll start off, I guess, with a couple of those. So I left work about noon. My little sister went with me, and so we met up and went up on the mountain. We went back to the same area that me and you hunted. We camped in the same spot.
Oh, really?
Yeah. We went and tried to hunt the honey hole. So let me back up. I was going to go hunt another draw before heading up the mountain. I was going to hunt lower just for time's sake, trying to get someplace set up to be able to hunt the evening. And I kind of said, well, you know what? I'm going to go up there and glass that area that we found and just see what's moving. And so we get up there and we're glassing, and we got up there before, I can't remember the exact time, but it was way before sun started going down. So we had a good, probably 2 hours to glass. And we're looking, and then we're up way up high on the ridge. I look up and I see all these little white specks, and throw out the binoculars, look a little closer, and I'm like, oh, those are mountain goats. These mountain goats started coming around the ridge line way up on top. And my little sister was like, oh, whoa, that's so cool. So I pulled out my spotting scope and got the phone scope out and attached it all up and just hit play. And, just got some good footage, a lot of time of the mountain goats. And there were some people that came by on four-wheelers. I stopped them and let them see the mountain goats, because you don't always get to see mountain goats. And
Yeah.
so they stopped for a little bit and watched them. And meanwhile, this other four-wheeler, or two guys, kind of stopped just up the road from us, and they're glass. And I was kind of one of those, like, well, this is our spot. What are you guys doing here? But whatever,
Yeah.
It's all public land. We're all out there trying to do the same thing. And so anyways, the people that I stopped, they hopped back on their four-wheelers and took off down the road. And so I go back, I'm going to walk up and see what these guys are doing, what hunt they're doing, or what their plans are. And went up and talked to them, and they just had the spike elk archery tag. And I got talking to them, and they're like, oh, did you see the dead elk carcass down there? It's like, oh, I didn't see it. He's like, oh, well, I think just the spine is all that's left. He's like, we were down here last weekend, or one guy was, the other guy was at a wedding or something anyways. And one guy goes, yeah, I was down here last weekend, and there was a bear feeding on the carcass. I was like, oh, really? Like, yeah. So he's trying to point it out to me, and he walks back down to where I was parked and points down there. He's like, see that where the trees coming together and make a point in the meadow down there, and just in between the meadow and there's a creek bottom down there, or a wash, there's just a spinal column left down there, and that's where the elk or the dead elk was, and it was a bear and a cub. I'm like, serious? He's like, yeah. So I'm sitting there glassing that and looking at that. Then he walks back up to, anyways, I think so that I followed. I got talking to him and walked back up to where he was glassing with his buddy, and we got talking. And so I went back down to my sister, and we got just glassing some more, and we glassed the hillside, and there was that hillside that we cut, that we went to a point, and they're like, all right, we started hiking down and making the curve to go back out to the truck.
Yeah.
So that hillside there was about 10 deer on that hillside. And so the guys were telling me too that valley in there last week had elk in it.
Really?
But yeah. And so I'm thinking the bear scared it out, or and then later on in the day I ran into some other hunters that hunted that area too that weekend, and they said there was a bunch of people up in there. So I think between the bear and all the people hunting that canyon blew the elk out. But yeah, so we said, what's that?
I was just gonna say, it sounds like there was a lot more activity down in there than what we even realized. Or well, you saw a lot more activity down there than we did. I mean, just the weekend before, right?
Right.
Yeah, that's crazy. Well, it sounds like there was a lot of activity down in there the weekend, but we went in there the last day.
Right.
But that's cool. So yeah, continue.
So I was like, well, and the guys are like, that were there, they're like, oh, there's a 3-point that if you just go up to that cut, so up at the top of the canyon, like there's a 3-point that's been hanging out in there. You guys can go get it. I was like, well, I'll be over there first thing in the morning then, because I just want to fill my tag, so they're all right. So me and Beck got up at like 4. We were 4:30. 4:30. We were in the truck and leaving at 4:45, 4:50.
Oh wow.
And it wasn't that bad of a hike. We found this little rock outcropping that we kind of nestled up into. It was kind of fun. There was like an owl that kept flying right above us and almost like flew right into our faces. It was almost reached out and caught it. But so anyways, we're sitting there and we're being quiet. I kind of walk out to this little knoll, lay across it, and glass this other side, trying to see if I can see something. Don't really see anything. Go back up to where she is and sitting there. Then the sun finally comes up. It's getting brighter. And then I look over from where we came across this little saddle area, and there's this mom and this little 2-point. And so I was like, Beck, do I shoot it? It's like, oh, it's your tag. It's up to you. And I was like, well, it's legal, but the body of that 2-point was smaller than the doe. So I was like, man, that thing's young.
Yeah.
I don't want to shoot something quite that young. So I let it feed up over the knoll. We're glassing, looking around, and then a little bit later, the 3-point, I believe that's the one that you guys are talking about. It comes right up over the middle of the saddle, and it's 150 yards away from us, so it's out of bow range. And no, not the biggest rack, but bigger than the 2-point. And so I let it feed up. It just crosses the saddle, walks over to this little like juniper or evergreen thing, I don't know, bush, and then it goes down out of sight. And I checked the wind's blowing in my face. So it's like, Becca, hold up tight here. I'm going to go see if I can get a shot. So it, like I said, it disappeared. So I made my way slow to the bush it was at. Then the hill went, it still wasn't far enough away to see where it went. So then I slowly went and over the crest a little bit further, and it was probably within 70 yards, but it it saw me.
Oh,
And so it didn't run away, but it kind of trotted away down, and I went around the bush to keep cover, and he just kept moving, and then it happened to that buck and that 2 point and mom, the doe, were around the other side, and I saw them again, but this buck kept working its way down, and like there's no way I'm gonna be able to keep up with it, or I'd just spook it more. And it wasn't like it was running, like a dead bounding away. It was just working its way away from me. So I went back up to Beck, and I got back up to her, and she saw another little 2 point on the other side, and it made its way across, and there's a couple other does down away from us, and so we're fine. We're like, oh, let's make our way around the backside of this knoll that we've been watching, because there's a whole nother bowl on the backside. And so we made our way back around there, and came back to the other ridge line around the knoll, and we kind of sat there for a little bit, heard some coyotes, a couple
really?
groups of coyotes howling at us, or not howling at us, but howling. It was kind of cool.
Yeah.
Kind of fun. And then we're kind of huddled up on this rock and getting hungry, so we eat it's about 10:30, 11. So, and then we just kind of pass out for a little bit, and we wake up to some voices coming up the trail. And we talk to them, and they're like, oh, we just saw a little 2 point, wasn't worth packing out, and so we just let it go. I was like, oh, cool, we talked a little bit, and they head back home, and they just live down in town. And so me and Beck hang out there for a second, or for another hour or so, probably just being patient and listening. And then we're like, oh, here's this other little knoll. Let's work around this other little knoll. And so we crest over the ridge and start working our way around. And I look up, I see like this deer sitting on the outside of this little evergreen bush thing, just laying there, kind of staring back at us. And I was like, deer, back up, back up, back up. She's all, where? Like right there, we just back up, like that's not it.
Yeah.
So she backs up, we back up, and I was like, all right. I throw my glasses up on it. I was like, oh, it has antlers. I don't know how big it is, it wasn't, I know it wasn't big because it didn't go out to its ears, but it went out into its ear. The antlers did. So like, all right, you stay here and watch it. I was like, I got to go around this knoll to get up, because I can work my way around this knoll and get up and be able to be above it. And then the wind would be in my favor. It's like, give me an hour, hour and a half, and I'll be around the other side. She's like, okay. So I would work my way around and get over on the other side, and I can kind of see where it was at. And I start working my way down, and I'm within 75 yards. And then I see this doe kind of step up. I'm like, oh, shoot.
So the doe busted you out of there?
Well, not just yet.
Okay.
So she heard something, I think, and stood up and walked up, and I sat down and got quiet and didn't move, and she went back to feeding and bedded back up. And so then I had no cover. So like I just had these little bushes, evergreen bushes that I had to work with, but it was nothing. And whatever in my head, I kept thinking that I had to make it happen. I had to just slowly work up to it. And so I started working again, and then this other doe jumped up and was walking around. It didn't necessarily see me, and then it worked its way out of sight. And I was like, okay, I'm safe to go again. And I'm telling it kind of quickly, but this all happened within probably, like after I got up there and got within 75 yards of the deer. I think I'm within 20 minutes, 30 minutes of this, I'm taking my time. It probably is even not quite that long, but it felt that long. And then I catch this like brown flash through the bush. That's kind of odd. And then so I kind of sat back down. Then nothing happened. So I stand back up to slowly work my way closer. And then the doe steps out of the bush and she kind of busts me. She starts doing her little, you know, breathing techniques that alert what's going on. And
Yeah.
so I sat back down and just sat there. And she takes off with 4 does and runs towards Becca, my little sister. And the blowing and whistling kind of as they leave. And it's like, well, I didn't see the buck, and I should have sat still. Like I should have just sat still, but no, in my head, like I got to make something happen, even though I don't have the cover.
Yeah.
So then I'm set down, and then I start to like get up, and then I see movement. The other mistake I did is I didn't take my binoculars and just slowly glass around the bush. Like I was like, well, if I don't see it with my naked eye, it must be someplace where I can't see it. So then I slowly start to get up, and then I see its head turn, and it looks right at me.
Oh no. Oh.
So it stood up and it took off running, and Becca's like, yeah, I felt like it was gonna run me over.
Oh man, what a bummer. Was it decent size?
Well, it was it was a 2-point,
Oh.
but it was one of those things that I was like, I committed as I was making my way around. I was like, I committed to like, this is an experience, and I've never really worked this way to get something. So whatever it is, I want this experience to be completed. So
Yeah.
whatever it is, I'm gonna take it.
Yeah. Well,
But,
yeah, that's what you got to do sometimes. I'm amazed how much activity you hit this weekend compared to the weekend before.
well,
That kind of blows my mind because
no, it did me too. It was kind of interesting because so we went up over the other side to kind of hunt the rest of the day, because I was like, well, this area I had 2 blown stalks, and I probably should have kept. Well, I got word. I went back to check on camp. I didn't stake my tent down, and there was thunder and stuff, and the wind was kind of picking up. So I was, I want to go back, check camp, and kind of tie everything down, so that way, like, I can feel good about staying out the rest of the day. And so then we went back and we went to the other side of the mountaintop, and as we're just driving down the other side, like, we kept seeing does. And then so I'm looking at like my Onyx on the map, trying to find someplace else to go, like where I wanted to move to next. And I start driving again, and I look down, and there's a doe, and I look behind the doe, and there's a 2-point.
oh man.
And so I was like, I had that moral dilemma, like, okay, like, so I fired the truck up, drove a little bit, and like, well, shoot, I can make this work. Like, I can probably make this work. And I was like, do I feel good about shooting a 2-point off the road? Like, but I was like, well, if it was a big buck, I'd do it. But what about a 2-point?
Yeah.
So I pulled forward and parked behind some trees and kind of backed up, or got out and walked a little bit, checked it a little bit, and trying to make my decision. But then a car come down the road and made my decision for me, and it spooked the deer. So
Yeah.
so there went that opportunity.
Man, I'm just amazed how many. I mean, you saw a ton of deer. I
Yeah.
mean, to the listeners out there, the weekend before we were up there, and I mean, we've kind of went over it in the last few podcasts, but like we just were not seeing anything. We literally saw one doe that whole weekend, and then now Joe's ran into all these deer the following weekend. It's just crazy. I mean,
Yeah, it was kind of interesting. I was like, I don't know if we just weren't high enough, if that was it, because we were at 11,000 feet, me and Becca.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we would have, maybe, I don't know, because I know we hiked up to the top of that one hill, and we were probably that high anyways. But I don't know why it's not like there's that big meadow. I don't know if that's what was the deal. I mean, there's a creek running through the bottom of the drainage, but I don't know if the food. Like I have a hard time seeing it. Like it's hard to be like, oh yeah, this was the for sure it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, it's crazy. So it sounds like there was a lot more hunters in that area than what we even gave it credit for. They were just kind of
yeah,
sounds like they were hitting the honey hole.
right. That's what I picked up on. Like the one guy was like, oh yeah, there was tons of people up here last weekend. I was like, oh well, we didn't run into anybody but the one guy.
Yeah, that's because we were hitting all the wrong spots, I think.
True, true. And then while I was watching those goats, the guy that I stopped to show the goats to, he's all, oh yeah, just back on the other side over there. There's a 4 point. He was about this tall and this wide, and like you would say that, bud.
Yeah.
Driving along on your 4-wheeler.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah. But that was like I said at the beginning of the podcast, it wasn't as successful as having something filling a tag, but it was successful. And for me, like I finally got to do a stalk, and I got within 75 yards, which I feel like I learned a lot from that. That was a big takeaway for me. And seeing those goats, that was pretty cool. Don't get to see those all the time, and it was a pretty big herd. There's a good herd of goats that was there.
Yeah.
And then we also saw a bobcat.
Really?
Yeah, that was fun and kind of cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But so I mean, like I said, it was successful in what we got to see and what happened. Like it was a huge takeaway, big success for me. But hopefully next time the tag will be filled.
Yeah, for sure. Are you planning on going back out there anytime soon, or are you gonna?
I think I am. I think I'm gonna go back down this Saturday. Got some family things for the other second half of the weekend, so I'm just gonna run down Friday and Saturday morning, and then that Saturday mid morning or afternoon head to some family activities. But
Gotcha. That'll be fun. Uh, so you kind of just tonight? You obviously you're in your camo and everything.
yeah,
You you just ran up the hill, just kind of scouting and doing some calls for elk tonight.
yeah. So my elk tag is good for up in this area above the B
Oh,
here.
so the area behind you, can you kill a bigger bull than a spike, or is it?
Yeah, it's an any bull.
Okay.
So like not that I can't say I've ever seen a bull elk up there. So it's just that an opportunity to run up and play with my calls in the woods with the bow in my hands. Just who said I'm working just on my calf calls and my cow calls.
Yeah.
Just seeing what happens. So I have seen elk up in there twice. Twice is all in the 15 years, or not quite 15 years, we'll just call it 10 years I've been going up there.
Yeah.
So it's not a high density area, but it's just an opportunity that I'm trying to capitalize on.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's cool. So, did you see anything tonight?
No, I didn't see anything. I didn't see deer or nothing. But we got thunderstorm kind of rolled in as I was getting out, so I left a little bit earlier, which is probably good too. But
Yeah.
yeah,
I hope those thunderstorms roll our way.
I hope so too.
Yeah.
You guys
Well,
need some rain, don't you?
yeah, we do. We do. We got some pretty big fires over here, so a little bit of rain would be pretty nice right now. So,
Yeah, I hope. Yeah, from what I've heard, it's a pretty good fire going right now.
yeah. Yeah, I haven't really heard anything about it lately. I don't know if it's growing or starting to settle down or not, but we've had smoke every night settling down into the town and ash hitting everywhere. It's pretty
Huh.
crazy. But it's yeah, I mean it's lasted a long time. There must be a lot to burn out there cuz
Hopefully, it's not anywhere close to where you're going to be hunting.
it's really not. But I might hunt there in a few years.
True.
Yeah, that's what I've been telling everybody. I'm like, yeah, I might have found my new hunt spot here in a few years.
That's what they
See,
say. Burns are good to hunt. I've never really focused on them, but I might.
yeah, that, yeah, I'm kind of excited to try it though. You know, see if it actually pans out.
Yeah.
You know that's so watching you like doing this whole thing and watching you hunt archery, uh man, it's really making me itch to get a bow because I'm like, man, being able to, you know, hunt every weekend, you know, whenever you have time off of work, and it'd be pretty nice, you know, because I mean my rifle is 1 week and you know it's be there, be square. I
Right.
mean, if you don't get it, too bad, you know. And that's all the hunting you get. You don't get to go back for retries.
True.
So I'm like, man, kind of want to get into archery so I could have a full month. Or it
True.
might even be a little longer. I think it's about a full month or whatever, but it'd be nice to take a week and then hunt the weekends, you know,
Yeah.
make it all work out.
Right. No, that's one thing that's been kind of nice. You know, is I mean, I put myself under pressure every time I go out. You know, just that way I stay ready, stay keen. But you know, it's nice to know a little bit too. Is that all right? I got a few more days, but it's you know it's September 11th is the close of the hunt, so it's coming up here shortly. So
Yeah,
I'm feeling a little bit of pressure.
coming a little faster than shoot. Yeah, coming a little faster than a guy wants.
Right.
But then you got till December for your elk, right?
Yeah, November sometime for both deer and elk.
Oh, okay.
I got to take like a little online ethics course, and then that gets me into the extended season, and then I got to hunt the extended area. Like it's not
Every,
for the area that I was hunting; it's for an actual extended units.
gotcha. Uh, do you still have to do bow or can you
Yeah,
switch to you still have to do a bow?
correct.
Gotcha. Well, at least you got a lot of hunting ahead of you. I mean, it definitely ups your chances of success.
True, true. You know, it would be nice to get it. If you know, it's nice to have that in your back pocket, but man, it'd be nice to have it kind of be done with, so you don't have to worry about it. You know, like know that your season's done, not
Ye-
because you ran out of time, but because you filled your tag.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, I definitely understand. I mean, it's definitely wears on a guy. just those 3 days that I was with you last weekend, or the weekend before rather. I mean, that's what I felt too. You know, by Monday, I'm like, oh my gosh, you know, I can't believe we haven't seen nothing, and all those doubts creep into your mind, and
Right.
hunt can be tough. It plays a lot of. I mean, you got to be mentally tough, you know, especially if
Right.
you're not seeing nothing. Because that's the thing. Like all my life, you know, like that's something that I always try to combat with is I'll go through moments where I'm like, man, I'm not seeing nothing, and then a doe pops out, and I'm like, okay, now I'm back into it for for a while. Then like nothing happens, and I'm like, oh man, you know, just want to give this day up. Then another doe jumps out, or maybe a small buck or something, you know, and
Yeah.
gets me going again. But that's what was happening last weekend without seeing anything. I was like, oh man, like I mean, it plays some mental
It
tricks on you.
yeah, it does. It definitely wears on you, and like it gives you that. Well, if I'm not seeing anything, why am I trying?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, but that's all part of it, though. That's the I don't know. I play such mental games because I've said this before, but like elk season. I mean, I've came up short the last 4 or 5 years, and every year I walk away kind of ticked off and ready to give the whole thing up, and then about this year is obviously different because we're talking about hunting every week, but in the past, August rolls around and I'm like, I don't know, I'm starting to get that itch again, starting to get excited about hunting again, and then I go do it again, fall short, then I want to quit, never do it
Right.
again.
Right.
So it's like this weird mental cycle that in the past I've done every year. But like I said, this year though, I'm totally pumped for my hunt. I'm really, really hoping that everything works out.
Yeah, me too. And it's it should, or it will. Something will work out.
Yeah, something for sure. Well, that sounds pretty cool. I mean, you're still plugging away and still working hard at it, and I mean, at least you saw plenty of activity this weekend to keep you engaged. I mean, that's really the important thing. Like you said too, is you got to do a few stalks, even though they didn't quite pan out. You still got within 75 yards. I mean, that's the one sweet thing about a rifle is you can kind of use distance
Yeah,
as an advantage.
if I would have had a rifle, my hunt would have been done.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, I mean, that's not bad though.
No.
And it sounds like I mean all the activity that you saw, that's the most interesting thing, the bobcat, the coyotes, goats,
Yeah.
then the deer.
Yeah. So I mean, that's yeah, like I said, it was fun. Like that kind of I enjoyed that just as much as I did the hunting.
Yeah. To your recollection, did we walk anywhere close to that elk carcass
We
that you
circled
found?
around it. Like it
Okay.
was kind of right in the center of where we went. Like so I mean we did. I kind of was like, man, I wish we would have wish we would have found that. It would have been kind of cool. But
Yeah, what if it was a big old bull or something? I mean, at least walk away with the horns.
well, there was nothing down. Well, I couldn't from what I could see, I couldn't see any horns, but there was and I was like, oh, I think someone shot it and left it, but the other guy's like, oh no, the guy that was telling me about it was like, I think the bear took it down.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know, maybe it was wounded, or who knows, but you know, yeah, but yeah, we went right. I mean, we probably could have saw it if we knew where we were looking, but I think we were in the woods walking along when we would have walked past it. Like we were up on that hillside in the morning, and then when we curved to come back down, it was completely on like the other side of the valley from us, or a group of trees. So we would have only seen it in the morning as we were heading up the canyon.
Gotcha. That makes sense. Didn't we see some bones somewhere? Or am I making that up?
I think we did see some old white bones.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah, that's interesting. I'm just shocked how much. I mean, I've only said it 3 times, but I'm just shocked how much. I mean, for people to understand, like we did not see anything the weekend before. I was kind of swearing up and down there was just no animals up there at all, and then to hear you talk about all the activity that you ran into, just like, man, wish we would have switched weekends or something, you know.
True.
Yeah, it kind of makes me wonder. I mean, I guess you never know, but it kind of makes me wonder, like, what was going on with that weekend. Why the activity just wasn't there.
We just weren't in the right spot. I think that's the end of the long and short of it. Or just something. I don't know if it was the elevation was just right for them or what, but or the feed. Like that canyon had the meadows, the feed, I guess, and the water, so it kind of had everything that was needed, and we just didn't even clue into. Like took us into kind of a darker timber, thicker stuff, thinking that they would be something would be in there more for protection. I didn't, not as a yeah. So I wonder if we would have backed up and went higher in the canyon in one of those bowls, where the meadows were, if we would have seen more success, because we were kind of on the lower end of those canyons of the bowls with a lot of timber and not quite into the meadows.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I
But
don't either.
but regardless, I mean, at least things are starting to come together for you for the most
True.
part, and
True.
that's kind of the most important thing I think here is everything's work or starting to work out, and hopefully by the end of the season we can have some success under the struggling hunters belts.
True. True.
uh yeah, I've I don't know, my weekend's been kind of a little crazier, back to working one day a weekend right now, and besides that and family, kind of working on some editing stuff and got to get some videos out, but need to I'm itching to get out through the woods. I'm trying to figure that out, get out through the woods and do some scouting, and just kind of want to go really walk the woods more than anything, but scout while
Right.
I'm doing it.
Right.
So
Makes sense. Trying to get some learning in you.
yeah. Well, I mean, it's been so hot. I'm kind of wondering if the rut will prolong itself, if it's starting to happen in certain, probably in the higher elevations, it's probably happening, but it's been so hot down here, it kind of make me wonder if there's much rut, if the rut's kicking off yet or not. I haven't really heard anything, so
Gotcha.
I did watch the what are they called, the public or the hunt public,
The hunting public.
the hunting public, yeah.
Uh-huh.
They're I watched a couple of videos of theirs. I think they're putting them out right away.
Huh.
They started, and I think they're in Colorado somewhere, and they hit some bugles, so they just put out a couple videos here the other day. So I don't know what kind of tag they have, because as far as I knew, Colorado was September.
Well, I don't know if they're the one that I saw of the hunting public. They had their last year's posted going on right now.
Oh, maybe that. Okay, that makes more sense. That makes more sense. I didn't really look into it too much, whether it was last year's or this year's, but
Yeah, well, I haven't seen all of them yet or looked at all of them yet, but the one that I did notice it was last year's hunt that they're posting this year.
okay, that makes more sense. I'm kind of surprised that they held on to it for this long,
Yeah.
but that makes more sense then, because I was like, man, it's August. How are they hunting so early? But I was like, well, maybe there's a special tag out there or something. I didn't really put a whole lot of thought into it. I just kind of assumed. So that's what you get whenever you assume stuff, I guess.
True.
But well, you want to get us out of here?
Sure. I
So,
think we'll call it a night. But yeah, so thanks everyone for giving us a listen. Remember, we are on. We do have a podcast. You can find us on Anchor or their Apple or whatever podcast you have. You can find us there. If you're listening to us on a podcast, we have a YouTube if you want to see what we look like.
couple handsome devils.
Yeah, real handsome. So handsome, we chase the deer away.
Yeah. That's what's going on. Huh? Our good looks are making them all run away.
Yeah.
Son of a gun.
But give us a like, give us a listen, and until we hear from you again, we'll catch up with you, and hopefully your guys' hunts are going great, and your prep if you're prepping or whatever you're doing, you're having a good time. We'll talk to you guys later.
Have a good one, guys. We're out.
Bye.
Later.